Next item on the agenda is discussion and action by City Council on the ordinance authorizing City of Beckley to convey 131.47 acres of real estate, more or less, located in the Pinecrest Industrial Park in Beckley, Raleigh County, to the Raleigh County Commission for the purpose of economic development. Mr. Fowler, is there anything you want to comment on this?
Just very briefly, at the last meeting, you may recall that there was a motion eventually made after some discussion to basically postpone this ordinance. And they asked that a workshop be held by City Council prior to this matter being brought back before Council. A workshop was scheduled and was held on, I believe it was October the 15th. I think it was a very productive workshop. I know the coach from Woodrow Wilson High School was there, and he certainly spoke, as did Jim Sheesley, and I believe Ms. Jenna Belcher also spoke. And council had an opportunity to discuss in depth this matter, and so that did take place. So now it is back on the agenda. So it's up to council now if they would like to act on this ordinance. This ordinance, I will remind everyone, first came to council, I believe it was on September the 10th, and at that time it passed on first reading. It came back for second reading and a public hearing on, I believe it was September the 24th, and there was no motion at that time made. It was read by title, but there was no motion, no action taken whatsoever at that time. And then so it did come back on another agenda, which would have been the agenda of October the 8th. At that time, there was a motion made to postpone this matter until after a workshop was held by council. That did occur. So tonight, this is the next council meeting following the workshop. So it is on the agenda, and it is open to council to act if it chooses. Mayor?
Mayor, have some items.
What?
May I please
I
acknowledge?
think if there's debate or anything like that, we'll give it to second.
I have some amendments to go forward.
Well, we got to
Absolutely.
still bring it, so,
Absolutely.
yeah, wait till we get to that point.
Well, I have amendments to do before we go forward. That would be something
still
that I have
to
to.
start this before anything can be debated.
Right, this matter needs to be, I believe, on the floor before it can be
Right.
amended. So it would take a motion
So I make-
excuse me, it would take a motion at this time to adopt this ordinance on second reading and a second. Once that's done, then it can be open to discussion and can be open to amendments.
Okay, so at this point, may I have a motion to approve the transfer of the 131.47 acres of real estate over to the Raleigh County Commission for Economic Development?
So move.
Second. Are there any questions or comments?
I have comments.
Okay, go ahead.
I have some amendments before we go forward. These are similar to the transfer agreement, and these I'm printing these off for all of our elected officials, from Ms. Bullock and Councilman Buchanan and Councilman Williams, Councilwoman Dingus, Councilwoman Coots, and Mayor Neal. Got yours? We had items in front of us before Pinecrest transfer the property to us, and these are similar, if not mirror, what we had for Pinecrest. Amendment 1 is if any parts of this transfer agreement are not met, and upon demand of the Common Council of the City of Beckley, the Raleigh County Commission will transfer the property to the City of Beckley for economic development. All improvements and leases will also be transferred. Any debts incurred by the Raleigh County Commission related to this property will not transfer from the Raleigh County Commission to the City of Beckley. And the purpose is to provide a check to ensure development occurs in accordance with this agreement. This is in accordance with existing covenants contained in the deeds.
Excuse me, do you think that we might have I can go make some copies for the three of us. We don't have a copy.
I felt, Ann, that this should be for people that were elected officials, but if you want a copy, I can surely give you a copy.
I mean, I'll be happy to
We have a copy for the public as well.
And also, I might point out, actually, the charter requires that any ordinance or any amendments be presented to the city council, to the city attorney prior to it being presented.
Oh, okay.
So so
Mr. Fowler would be more than happy to give you the, and I have one. I have okay, yes. Yes. And Jessica, you have one? There you go. So now proceed, Mr. Fowler, since now you have a copy.
thank you.
Okay. So I guess we needed a motion on Amendment 1, Mayor.
I mean, exactly what are you trying to amend
What I just read.
at the last second, but you just, I
These
mean,
are-
we've not had time to look this over or anything, and I
Well,
don't know
these
if
are
that's.
things, these were things that were also exactly the same items that
Well, what do you-
mirror with the. well,
What
I
are you
just-
asking to amend? So with,
I want to
with
make
the
sure
transfer of the property from the city to the Raleigh County.
it states everything, Mayor
I
Neal.
want to hear your words. What do you exactly, what's your amendment that you're trying to, what do you want to get
There
amended?
were several amendments. There were actually, when you go over all of these, there are several to ensure that our constituents in the city are going to, if we're giving this to the county commission, and it's several millions of dollars of property, that we need to make sure that we've done our due diligence and make sure that what the Pinecrest gave to us, that we're giving right back to the county commission, to make sure that they are ensuring that we're going to get the same thing that we voted upon.
Well, I might point out, the ordinance actually authorizes the city of Beckley to convey this property to the county commission. But it is going to be subject to an agreement that we will be working out with the county commission. So there will be terms, certainly in that agreement, that must be approved by council and by the county commission. I haven't seen these before. I don't know if these may be good.
Well,
they may not be.
those mirror exactly what we were given when we accepted the property from Pinecrest in the very, very beginning. You can see that they're pretty similar.
Would the transfer not already hold the county as reliable as we were, Mr. Fowle? Like, aren't they technically with the covenants and the deeds, they're under the same stipulations as we currently are, correct?
Right, that will be part of the transfer, part of the agreement that will be
So at that point,
worked out.
At that point, if there's, since everyone have to follow that, there's really no sense in doing the amendments because they're going to do the exact same. They're going to be under the same stipulations we were, correct?
Yes, that is correct. And these, as I said, I haven't read these, but these will most likely be very similar to what will be in the agreement that will have to be signed off by the county commission and by the city of Beckley at the time of the transfer of the property. And you're stating you want to amend. I'm not sure.
I just want to
Where these
ensure
may-
that everything, I mean, that's why I brought in a copy for everybody that was elected so that we could see it. I'm sorry that it was last minute, but oftentimes we get budget revisions at last minute that we have to approve, not to throw anybody under the bus, but, we just want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence. I mean, if we're giving the property away to the county commission, we need to ensure that we're doing the right thing for our constituents that have put us in, and those are tough questions and tough decisions. And I just feel like needs to be brought forward that we want to do the same. Ron, I know you're shaking your head.
I am shaking my head.
Well, I want to make
Sorry.
sure. I want to make sure that the county is going to do exactly what we did when we accepted the property from Pinecrest.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do hear what you're saying. But the point is, they've been working on this for 2 years, well before my time, with you all there.
We did.
I mean,
Yeah,
back
that's true.
2 years ago, March 2022, you all, again, before my time, Natalie Coots' time, a couple of the others. So as we talked about in the workshop, we've had the due diligence. We've had the workshops. We've discussed everything that could be discussed. We had the attorney that drew up the lease.
But I think that
that basically said that, we will be sued by Pinecrest if we do not transfer this property for economic development. So, wait a minute, so, I mean, I don't want to see our city get sued. And I think it's pretty irresponsible for us to sit up
Well-
here and put the city in a
well-
lawsuit when,
Can I make?
Well, according to some of these amendments, I mean, they're talking about that it can't be sold, leased, or otherwise transferred to any business owned and part of a family member of the commissioner or a council member. There can't be construction done by a family member or a council member. I mean, are those? I mean, those are kind of seem like they're pointing towards one person, don't they?
yeah,
Well, I mean,
These are not, these are not really.
Someone that's never done work for the city, by the way.
Well,
Quite a bit of
I
this,
think that-
a good number of these amendments are not something that's been contained in any prior agreement. These are basically changing quite a bit of the intent of the original agreement. You know, you've got, you've got several items in here that,
well, you don't want to put yourself in a bad position. I
I think
mean,
there's a
showing that.
motion and a second on the floor. Can we vote on that?
there needs to be, once there's a motion and a second on any amendment, if there's an amendment that I assume, Ms. Hunter, you were making amendment one, is that what you're doing? Is that starting out?
That
Or
was
you
the
want
first
all the
one.
amendments at one time?
Well, I was like, I was going to read all of those at the same time, but since you weren't able, since I just brought them to you, but I thought I needed to give them to elected officials.
Well,
going forward.
to amend, let me point out, what has to occur now is there has to be a motion to approve the amendments. And right now, the only motion that's on the floor is a motion to approve
Transfer.
second reading of the ordinance, which authorizes the city of Beckley to transfer the property to the county commission, but it's going to be subject to an agreement that will be worked out between the county and
The
the city.
second reading on September 24th, that didn't get a motion, that was your.
Right, there's been a second, we can do a second
Mhm.
reading tonight. We've already had the public hearing on this. We had quite a lengthy public hearing. and
Even though we
the public
started,
did-
Mr. Powell, I'm
Yes, ma'am.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Even though we started over, does that mean that we could have a first reading and a second reading and another public hearing? Since it was dead and we brought it back up, would that not be feasible?
No, we are not starting over. This is the same ordinance that was presented on September the 10th. and
I just
was
want to
approved
ensure
for
that
first
all of our
reading.
bases are covered going forward so that
Sure.
the city's going to get what they think.
Yeah, Councilman.
Let me just point out, on your amendments, there will need to be a vote taken on the amendments, whether to approve the amendments.
Okay.
They can either be voted up or down.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but it has to,
Council-
each amendment will have to have a second.
Okay, go ahead.
The question, I mean, the amendments that she's saying, if I'm hearing her right, those amendments would be discussed between the parties after the property has been approved or disapproved or approved by Pinecrest and everybody that's involved. Am I hearing that right?
Yes, what will happen is, there's already been some discussion with the attorney for the county commission, Mr. Root. He is aware that there is an agreement that will be expected, and that there's reference made in our ordinance that there will be an agreement between the county commission and the city of Beckley. Currently, there is no agreement between the county commission. The agreement that Beckley is operating under currently is with Pinecrest.
Correct.
So we'll have to have an agreement with the party that we're transferring the property to, which is the Raleigh County Commission.
Okay.
And so, yes, there will be that. Now, some of these amendments, I'm confident, will not be in an agreement.
And that'll give everybody a chance to look at it, so we just need to
Right.
vote on the motion.
You need to vote right now on, if there's a motion and a second to amend, that needs to be voted on. If it's voted down, then we move on with the second reading, the vote on the second reading of the ordinance to approve the ordinance.
So again, are you want me to make a motion to amend all 7 amendments, or one at a time, or
It was the first one.
There's 12.
12 of them? All right, may I have a motion to amend the action? Anyone? Okay, so no action taken on that. So now is it back to any other questions or comments before we vote? Does anybody else have anything they want to comment on?
I'd just like to say this is a strong council, and I know we act strong for the city. We're not going to vote the same on this, but I'm proud to be here. I'm proud to be here to lead the city. I mean, we're known as the medical hub, education hub, retail hub, restaurant hub. We just got to get more jobs here. We got to be a job hub instead of a restaurant hub, retail hub. I mean, we got all these education centers and educational hub. We got so many universities sitting here. And if the kids stay here, they go to universities here, training, and they leave. And this is just an opportunity for us to keep our young workforce, which we say our children, our greatest resources here, or give them the opportunity after college. So, in that song, Tracy Lawrence always says, time marches on. The only thing that changes is change. So
Any
that's all
other
I can say
questions or
about that.
comments? Thank you. Kip, any other questions? I'm going to say this too. I think Councilman Buchanan is absolutely right. I was at the meet the candidates a couple mornings ago. Tony Martin, some of the other people that were running for office here in a couple weeks, they spoke, and a lot of the questions directed to them, and a lot of the response, even if they weren't asked a question, they talked about, and it's how do you keep your young professionals here? How do you keep your top talent? How do you, they're going to go where the opportunities are. And I certainly have respect for Coach Barbera. I have respect for the kids that come up and spoke, and how articulate they were, how much passion they had for the. I get all that, but the sad reality, they're probably top of their class at Woodrow Wilson. They're probably going to go on to college and be successful. But the sad reality is, they'll probably be successful somewhere other than Beckley, West Virginia. And we've got to figure out a way to reverse the trend. I was talking to Fred Persinger the other day on the radio show. And when Kip Buchanan, myself, Cody Rudy's dad was at Woodrow Wilson, the 88 to 90, we were the second biggest high school in the state. Fred Persinger told me this, like right now we're like the 16th. That's a huge decline. And I just think it's important to look, and when you have an opportunity like we saw at the workshop, the businesses that this will bring in, the jobs it's going to provide, you really have to look at what's best for the city. So anybody else have anything they want to comment on?
It would be great. What's best for the city is for us to retain that property and let those that are here to be able to develop that, because that's the city property.
We were against that just a few months ago when we weren't going to get a bond for it.
Right.
Well, and then I asked
Well, you
about
have
extra money.
131.47 acres. And I am quite sure that all of the adults can come together as stakeholders and come up with an agreement. And I'm hoping that Mr. Barbera could be able to name, you have done a lot of work over there. And I know you have, that you will be able to still name that property after, I think you said your parents. Right, and I think as stakeholders, I think we are adults, and I believe we can come together and make this happen. Like I said, it is 131.47 acres. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to comment? Okay. All in favor of transferring the property to the Raleigh County Commission for the purpose of economic development, please say so by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay, the vote counts. Thank you, council. We'll move on to next item on the agenda is old business.